What are some things that maybe you're noticing that you think is maybe different about this generation, or something that we might need to be aware of?
I love this topic. I absolutely love it. And it's so funny because I think in some of our just normal interactions, you and I often talk about this, and it is great to do a show about it. So I hope that the audience will be patient with us, because we're going to go all over the place, but hopefully we're going to bring you to a place where you're going to walk away with something practical as a leader that you can do to help young professionals. But also, if you're a young professional or about to join the workforce, you're going to get some nuggets as well that you can use. I think the way that I would sort of lay our foundation today is, let's talk about how both leaders need to maybe accept responsibility. There's maybe an obligation there that we have got to invest in this generation. Because I think we both have talked about this. I get frustrated, and sometimes I even do it, with people that just wag their finger at young professionals and say, they need to figure it out. I can't believe they did that or said that, or they're thinking that. Well, we have an opportunity and an obligation to invest in them. But I also think that young professionals need to think about, okay, you came into the workforce very different time maybe than some of us Gen Xers and baby boomers did. And you've got some great ideas and things to add, but there are things that you can still learn. So how do we come together and learn from each other? I think that's the way I'd set today up.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And I think it's also important, as part of our foundation, that we acknowledge every young generation got knocked when they entered the workforce.
Absolutely.
So the boomers were the hippies.
Yes.
These hippies need to get their act together.
Yes.
Right? Gen X were the slackers.
Yeah.
Right? Millennials were entitled. And then now Gen Z, I hear different kind of labels floating around that. Nothing's really landed necessarily, but every generation has kind of their knocks. So maybe then a good starting place, given that every young generation, 23 to 28-year-olds kind of coming into a workplace, all have their areas to grow. And so there's some commonalities, but what maybe is different about Gen Z? What have you noticed or heard? What are some things you think, in this way, maybe they're a little further behind other generations, or it's something we may need to be a little more aware of?
Well, the good news is we're both fathers of Gen Z children, so we definitely get to see it firsthand. So there are a couple of things, and I want to be very careful to not jump into the chorus that tends to blame COVID for everything. I think there is a tendency, it's the COVID generation. Yes, COVID had a tremendous impact on society. It did change a lot about how we work and interact and communicate. I think it had a role to play, but I think that there are a couple of things that I see. Gen Z has immediate access to information that was not really what we had kind of growing up. I'm dating myself, but remember Encyclopedia Britannica, and we have to go to the library and do research. Information.
People sold those door to door.
Exactly.
I bought one.
But information now is immediately accessible. So there isn't the process of learning that we had to go through. Everything is like instantly available, which kind of spills over to instant gratification. I want what I want, and I want it now. I can get whatever I want, and I can do whatever I want. And I can design my own career, design my own life. I can do whatever I want. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. I just think it's an expectation I see in a lot of Gen Z, that I can map out whatever kind of life I want, build the designer life, the cafeteria life, and that's what I'm going to do. And that sounds great in principle. Sounds great on paper. It's not really reality, though. It's not really the way that the world works. So I think they're coming into the workforce with a set of expectations that has been fostered and influenced some degree by social media, maybe by our educational institutions in society. But when you get to the workforce, and this is where you and I live every day, we're working with leaders of big organizations every day. They're frustrated with these expectations and ways of operating that Gen Z brings into the workforce. So I think that's something that we've got to just be mindful of, that there is a different way of seeing the world. To your point, we were all rebels. We were all kind of the kids that, what's wrong with them? And we're probably doing the same to Gen Z today. But we've got to figure out a way to unlock the code about how they think, but also maybe have an influence on them to help them be successful in today's business world.